Welcome to CEM Institute. I'm Iklas, your English learning mentor. Today, we're going to strengthen your core English skills so you can move step by step toward English mastery. In this lesson, we will listen to and understand a classic story, Robinson Crusoe, by Daniel Defoe, Part 3. If you want to enjoy the previous parts of the story, you can visit our channel. Listen carefully and stay focused. One day, when I walked to the west coast of the island, I saw a boat on the sea. But was it really a boat? It wasn't near the island. When I came down from the hill, I couldn't see it. Perhaps the mark on the beach wasn't strange. Perhaps boats stopped at the island when there were storms at sea. Perhaps men from other islands came to my island for fruit or for goats, dead men's bones. I walked to a different place on the coast. On the beach, in the hot sun, I saw some bones. I looked at the bones carefully. They weren't from a bird or a goat or another animal. They were the bones of a man. So cannibals cooked and ate people here on my beach. Why did men do this to other men? I watched for the cannibals. I felt ill, but I made my plans. First, I moved my little boat and put it near my house. Then I found a place on top of a hill. From there, I could watch the beach with the bones. I wanted to kill the cannibals when they came back with another man for their dinner. I often thought about the cannibals. I couldn't work on my house and garden. Perhaps the cannibals could hear the noise of my tools. I was afraid, and I didn't want to meet them on the beach. I didn't often use my guns, and I was careful with fires. I found a bigger cave near my country house. I used this when I made a fire for bread and cakes or for meat. The smoke didn't leave this big cave. I also moved some guns and other things to this bigger cave. I wanted to have guns near me when I was at my country house. I was more intelligent than 500 cannibals. Every morning I took some guns and walked about 3 miles to my place on the hill. I watched and waited for the cannibals. But nobody came. Nothing happened. I watched every morning for months, but I didn't see anybody. Then I went back to my old life and looked for food in the mornings. I didn't visit that hill for a long time. I tried to forget about the mark on the beach and the bones. I tried, but I couldn't forget. I am afraid again. It was now the end of the summer of my 23rd year on this island. I had a lot of work in my garden. I looked at the corn every morning. One morning, before it was light, I saw a fire on the beach. It was about 2 miles away, near the hill. I ran quickly to the hill and looked for the fire. I saw 9 men on the beach below me. They wore no clothes. They sat round a small fire. The weather was very hot, so the fire was for food. They danced and they moved their arms and legs quickly up and down. After an hour, the water in the sea was high on the beach. The 9 men got into their boats and began to leave. I ran back to my cave for my gun. When I came to the hill again, I saw there 2 boats on the sea. Then I saw 3 other boats. The 5 boats went north. I went down to the beach. There were new bones, the bones of 2 men. I was very angry. Again, I wanted to kill them when they came back to the island. But they didn't often come to my island. I knew that now. For 15 or 16 months after the cannibals' visit to my island, I didn't sleep well. I woke up in the middle of the night and looked for men outside my walls. On the 16th of May, there was a great storm. The wind was very strong and I couldn't sleep. Then I heard a sudden noise. I jumped and ran to my wall. Was it the sound of a gun at sea? I went to the hill. I watched and listened. I heard more loud noises from the sea. Was there a ship near the island? Was there an accident? I couldn't help the ship, but perhaps the ship could help me. I built a large fire on my hill. When my fire was big, it gave a lot of light. I heard the guns from the ship again. I had a fire on the hill all night. In the morning, the weather was bad and I couldn't see very well. Where was the ship? When the sky was blue again, I saw the ship. It was near the beach, but it was under the water. And where were the men from the ship? Were they on the great sea or at the bottom of it? I cried because there was nobody from that ship on the beach. Why didn't one man arrive on my island and speak to me? That was my saddest day in 23 years. I go to the ship, I went back to my house and got ready for a journey to the ship. Perhaps there was a man on the ship. Perhaps he was ill and couldn't shout for help. I took bread and water, dry fruit, corn, milk, and my gun. The journey was 2 hours in my boat. On the ship, I found 8 dead men. There was no life there. The food was wet, but I found some bottles of wine, some good guns, and some money. I also found some tools, some things for my kitchen, and some fine shirts. I really wanted some shoes, so I took them from the dead men. They weren't English shoes, but I was happy with them. I put everything into my boat and went home. I was very tired and sad at the end of that day. I want to go home. I followed my plan every day, but I often looked at the sea. I thought about England. I wanted other ships to come near my island. I wanted to leave. Sometimes I had strange ideas in my head. I thought I had a friend on the island. We built a boat and found the way to England. This wasn't possible, of course, but I thought of a different plan. When the cannibals came back to the island with other men for their dinner, I could kill the cannibals. I wanted to be friends with the other men, their prisoners. For 2 or 3 years, I watched again for the cannibals, but I didn't see them on my island. Then, one morning, I was on a hill and I looked down at the beach below me. I saw 5 boats on the beach quite near my house. There were no men with the boats, but there were usually 4 or 6 men in each boat. So there were perhaps 20 or 30 men on the island. I went back to my house and cleaned my guns. Then I closed my house and went to the top of the hill again. I saw the cannibals. From the hill, I could see about 30 men on the beach. They had a big fire, and there was meat on the fire. What animal did this meat come from? Some men cooked it. The other men danced around the fire. Then the cannibals pulled 2 other men from a boat. They were prisoners. Were they more meat for the cannibals' dinner? One cannibal hit the shorter prisoner with a heavy tool. The prisoner fell. I think that he died very quickly. 2 other cannibals cut into the dead man's stomach. Then they cut off his arms and legs. A prisoner runs away. The other prisoner stood behind the dead man. The cannibals were busy and didn't look at him. In that minute, the prisoner looked round him, and then he ran as fast as possible across the beach. He couldn't see me, but he came nearer and nearer to me and to my house. The cannibals followed the prisoner, and I was afraid. But I didn't move. I watched the prisoner. After a minute or two, only 3 cannibals followed the prisoner. I felt happier now because the prisoner was a very fast runner. He was faster than the 3 cannibals. There was a little river between these men and me. The prisoner stopped at this river and looked up and down. But when the cannibals were near, he jumped into the river. Then he swam across it. The river was fast and strong. But the prisoner could swim very, very well. The 3 cannibals came to the river and stopped too. One man couldn't swim. He left and went back to the beach. I killed 2 cannibals. The other 2 men jumped into the water and swam slowly across the river. They weren't good swimmers. I had an idea in my head now. I thought, can this prisoner be my friend? I took my gun and ran quickly down the hill. I was between the prisoner and the 2 cannibals. I shouted at the prisoner, "Come here." Then I ran to the first cannibal and hit him hard. I didn't use my gun because I didn't want the other cannibals to hear the noise. But the other man ran at me very fast. I had to use my gun. In a minute, the second cannibal was dead. The prisoner was afraid of the noise from my gun. He looked at me and didn't move. I spoke quietly to him. I wanted to be his friend. He came near me, but he was very careful. He didn't know. Was he my prisoner now? Thank you for listening to part 3 of Robinson Crusoe. If you want to see the next part of the story and continue your journey toward English mastery, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to stay updated. The next part will be uploaded very soon. Learn, listen, and grow with CM Institute.